In this video, I'm going to show you how to recover from stalling. Your car will stall when you force the engine to spin slower than it can handle. My car's minimum engine speed is around 750 revolutions per minute, which is what it's spinning at the moment. If I force it to go slower than that by using the brake, it will stall. This engine stalls when it gets to about 500 RPM. You'll also likely stall if you bring the clutch up too quickly without holding it on the bite point. And that's because if you bring the clutch up quickly without pausing on the bite point, the clutch does not have enough time to make the wheels spin fast enough that the engine doesn't need to slow down. If you bring the clutch up quickly, the engine doesn't have power to spin the wheels, therefore the engine slows down. And when the engine goes below around 500 RPM in most cars, it tends to stall. You can get away with this if you have a lot of gas. If you give plenty of gas and bring the clutch up, your engine has loads of power. So the clutch, which is connected to your engine, has absolutely no problem spinning your wheels quite quickly. And that will normally feel like a nasty lurch as you move away, as you've probably done if you're learning to drive, or in an extreme case when you're giving plenty of gas, way too much gas, you may even wheel spin. The wheels will spin because the tyres will lose traction with the road because they're spinning too fast. They can't grip the road strong enough to accelerate the weight of the car, so they sit there spinning for a while. You'll also stall the car if you try to move away in a gear that's too high. For example, normally you want to move away in first gear if you're at a standstill, and you can get away with second gear. Ideally you want first. If you try and move away in third gear, you're more likely to stall because it's harder for the engine to turn the wheels in higher gears. This is why you need lower gears uphill, because lower gears actually increase the power that goes to your wheels from the engine. When you're in a higher gear, you have less power. And moving away from a standstill is quite difficult for an engine. It takes quite a lot of power to get the car started. Once it's started, it's a lot easier to keep things moving, which is why you can go into a higher gear. Also, higher gears have higher minimum speeds, and you should really hold the clutch on the bite point until you reach the gear's minimum speed, or the car will jerk and possibly stall. For example, third gear in this car has a minimum speed of 11 miles an hour. So ideally, if you move away in third gear in this car, you need to wait until about 11 before you come off the clutch, which is a long time, and it's going to put a lot of strain on your clutch. It's going to overheat it. I'm going to give you an example now. I'm going to try and move away in third gear. So clutch down, third gear, handbrake off. Let's see if I can actually do it. See how long I have to hold it on the bite point for to make this work. So some gas, lift the clutch to the bite point and hold it. I'm holding it there. It still hasn't rev matched. I'm still holding it there. It still hasn't rev matched. It's struggling. And I've got to 11 miles an hour now. I can actually come off the clutch, and I've done it. I've moved away. Uphill, I wouldn't really have much chance of that working because I need more power to get up the hill, and my car struggled there, and it was a little bit downhill. Now, I really don't recommend you do that. It's really not very good for your clutch. It puts a lot of heat into it, and it's completely unnecessary. I just wanted to show you the principles of how it works. If you hold the clutch on the bite point for long enough, you could in theory move away in any gear, but don't do that. Here's what happens if I don't hold the clutch on the bite point when I put it into third gear for very long. So clutch down, third gear, handbrake off, no one's coming, bit of gas, lift the clutch to the bite point, pause it for a bit and then come off, and it stalls. And it doesn't stop straight away, because when you stall, that doesn't stop you. It does put a little bit of braking force into the wheels, but not much. So the car will keep jumping up the road until it finally stops, or you press the brake. So to make a car stall, you must force the engine speed to go lower than it can spin at, and you do that by either selecting a gear that's too high for your speed, bringing the clutch up too quickly, or not having enough gas, or not pressing the clutch down early enough when you slow down. But enough of what makes the car stall. You're watching this video to find out how to recover from a stall. If you're taking driving lessons with a driving instructor, the chances are, in this day and age, which is early 2020, their car has a stop-start system. This car is 2014 and it has a stop-start system. The earliest cars I remember getting them was the Minis actually, and that was the early noughties. But if you've got a stop-start system, recovering from a stall is really easy. I'm going to do a stall now, clutch down in the first gear, and I'm, with the handbrake on, just going to lift the clutch up. It's stalled. All I should need to do is press the clutch down and then it will restart. On this occasion it hasn't. Most of the time it does though, and that's something I noticed about stop-start systems, is they're a little bit sporadic. Sometimes they will restart for you, most of the time actually they will restart for you, but on the odd occasion they won't. If they don't, whilst your clutch is down, that's my reverse sensors, I'll turn it off, I'll just turn the key and it will restart again happily. But some cars aren't even that easy, because you turn the key and nothing happens. Sometimes you have to actually turn the key off first and then turn it back on. Make sure your clutch is down, however. If your clutch is down, it doesn't matter what gear you're in, you're not going to shoot forwards. And if you have a car with stop start anyway, you will have to have the clutch down to turn it on. Now, I have heard some people say that if you stall, you need to secure the car. If you don't know what secure the car means, it basically means pull the handbrake up and put it into neutral. That's not true. You don't need to do that. That's just advice to help prevent you from rolling back or continually making the same mistake of trying to move away in the wrong gear. I do remember actually having a person on test a good few years ago, and they were trying to move away at some traffic lights and they put it into third gear instead of first, and they stalled. And then they did it again, and they did it again, and I can't remember how many times they did it, but the examiner had to say, you're in third, you need first, by which time of course they had failed, which is a real pity. So I understand why instructors say pull the handbrake up and put it in neutral, because it means you're definitely going to reset yourself and start from the beginning, not roll back and not keep making the same mistake again. But by no means do you have to do that. I don't do that. If I was to stall, I would just do what I need to do. Now, you need the clutch down to start the engine. Even without stop start, you want it down so you don't shoot forwards if you're in gear. Then I would make sure I'm in the correct gear and carry on. If I was going to roll back, I would deal with that as well. If I knew I was in the correct gear and I knew it was me being an idiot with the clutch, which made me stall, I wouldn't even do the gear, because I probably know why I stalled. So, should you secure the car if you stall? It's not a bad idea for learners, but you definitely don't need to, and it can cause you problems, especially if you stall in an awkward area. You don't want to take longer than you need to get going. So is it impossible to stall when you're moving? Well, as you saw earlier in the video, no, you can stall. You can stall at any speed. Stalling is just the engine spinning slower than it can handle. In this case, the minimum it can absolutely handle before it cuts out is 500 RPM. It'll be very unhappy below 750, but at 500 it will cut out. And you will keep moving. Even if you make the engine go slower than that, it will just judder and then start to jump up the road. But once the engine gets down to that speed, it can't recover itself. So you'll continue to jump up the road until you either stop or push the clutch down. By the time you push the clutch down, the wheels turning and the momentum of the car is no longer turning that engine at that low speed. So then the engine has no way of keeping itself moving and it cuts out. So you would stall even though you're at speed. So here's an example. I'm going to stall when my car is rolling. It's at 12 miles an hour and I'm going to put it in 6th gear. So 6th gear and clutch up, and the revs are below 500 RPM, clutch down, and it can't recover. But if I hold the clutch down and turn the key, it will start again. Then I can think, whoops, 6th gear, didn't mean to get that, pop it into 2nd and carry on. So there I recovered from a stall at speed just by holding the clutch down and restarting the engine. Normally stop start would start it for me there, but I actually disabled it to show you that I need to turn the key if you didn't have that system. But make sure you check your gear before you carry on, because if you stall when you're rolling, it's almost certainly because you're in the wrong gear. But remember, some cars require you to turn the key off before you can turn it back on again. So if you're turning the key on and it's not going, just turn it all the way off, back on, and it should fire into life if your clutch is down. So here's an example of what I would do if I was to stall when I was trying to move away. I'm going to put it in third gear to make sure I do stall. So I tried this already in first and it's quite hard to stall this car. So handbrake off in third gear, definitely will stall this time. No one coming, clutch up to the bite point and it conks out. So what I'll do is clutch down, restart the engine. It started itself. If not, I would have started it with the key. Check my gear, it's in third, whoopsie daisies. I'm not rolling back, so I don't have to deal with that. And just move away again. This time without stalling. Excuse the bad lighting, but I'm kind of limited in my choice of where the hills are and it's right in the sun at the moment. But I'm going to show you how I would recover from a stall if I stalled on a hill. So I'm uphill now, pop it into third gear by accident, get a little bit of gas, a little bit of bite point, look around, oh I'm coming, handbrake off and try and move away. Oh, and I stall. So now I'll brake to stop it rolling back, clutch down, restart the engine if it doesn't start itself. Think, why have I stalled? Right, I'm in third. First gear. It's worth just taking it out of gear and putting it in the first again, just in case you are wrong, because sometimes you might think you're in first, but you're actually in third. And I've got to do another handbrake start. So on this occasion, I will pull the handbrake up because there's a car behind me and I don't fancy rolling back into it. And then this time, have a second attempt, be calm, don't rush, breathe, and then carry on. Because if you keep rushing, if you try your hardest to recover from that stall really quickly, you'll most likely only stall again. So try and stay calm and use your head. So would you fail your test for stalling? Stalling in itself is not a fail. However, how you deal with that stall, how you recover from that stall, and what problems you cause from stalling can cause a fail. So if you recover from it badly by, I don't know, rolling back too far or repeatedly stalling and not being successful at getting the car moving, you would most likely fail. Or if you were to stall in an awkward place and cause danger, you would most likely fail. For example, if you were to pull out into a mini roundabout and you were to stall after the give way line on the mini roundabout and there's cars around and you're causing danger, you'll probably fail. But if you were to stall before the give way line, you'll most likely be okay as long as you recover and get going again later when it's safe. Don't rush though, because if you rush, you're probably going to recover badly. This is why coasting over a give way line is bad. You always want to have your gas and clutch bite point ready before you cross the give way line. If you do it after the give way line and you get it wrong, you're going to stall in the road or in the mini roundabout in the way, causing danger. If you stall before the give way line, you're okay. Also, you don't want to spend longer than necessary after the give way line getting ready. Once you cross that give way line, you should just accelerate up the road and progress with the normal flow of traffic. And the question I normally get asked is stalling bad for the car? Does it cause damage? And you'd understand why you'd think that. It certainly feels like it causes damage. It doesn't actually damage an individual component. It's not going to break something, but it does put more strain on your transmission. Your transmission is your gearbox basically and your clutch and anything else that transmits power from your engine to your wheels. That's why it's called a transmission. It transmits power. So although stalling doesn't actually break anything there and then, it does put more strain on your car and your car wears over time, and the more strain you put on it, the quicker things wear out. You can also wear your engine mounts because your engine gets shunted quite a bit when you stall on those rubber mounts, and that can strain them and put some extra wear into them, extra play. What should I say? Do I sound like Stewie from Family Guy? If you're practicing without an instructor, make sure you have insurance. Get £20 off via the link in the description to Collingwood, who provides specialist learner insurance that allows you to practice in a friend or family member's car without risking their no claims bonus. If you want to insure your own car, click on the link to confused.com. I have found that they have the widest selection of cheap insurers for young drivers. So I hope that helps you recover from a stall next time you do stall. Hopefully you don't stall. If you think it will, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to get my future videos. Until the next one, cheerio.